All right, so get this. We're diving into Autobiography of a Yogi, a book that's practically a spiritual legend.
Yeah, practically a legend.
I mean, it's about Paramahansa Yogananda's journey,
It is.
but it honestly feels less like a biography and more like a guide to a world we didn't even know existed.
It's true. Yogananda doesn't just tell his story. He opens a door to this incredible reality where spirituality and science are kind of intertwined and the possibilities of human consciousness seem limitless.
And we're talking about meeting some truly remarkable people along the way. Saints, scientists, yogis who seem to bend reality itself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little intimidated, not gonna lie.
I understand that feeling. But remember, this isn't just about marveling at these extraordinary figures. It's about seeing what they reveal about our own potential.
Okay, that's a good point. It makes it feel less like a superhero comic and more like, well, maybe something we could tap into ourselves.
Exactly.
So where do we even begin with a life this packed?
Well, right from the start, Yogananda's childhood is anything but ordinary. He vividly remembers a past life as a Himalayan yogi, which explains his intense longing for the Himalayas in this life.
Past lives, huh? I'm more familiar with the Western idea of heaven and hell, but this reincarnation concept is definitely intriguing. Does Yogananda go into how that works?
He does touch upon it. Reincarnation, as it's understood in Eastern religions, is about the soul's continuous journey through many lifetimes, carrying with it the lessons and experiences from each one.
So this past life as a yogi wasn't just a random memory, it was shaping his desires in this life. That's a pretty powerful idea. Makes you think about what might be influencing us from our own past, doesn't it?
Exactly. And it highlights that our journey in this life isn't isolated. It's part of a larger tapestry.
Okay, that's making my head spin a little, but in a good way.
Good.
So beyond past lives, what else was unusual about Yogananda's early years?
Well, there's the poignant story of his mother's passing when he was young. But before she left, she shared a profound experience with him, a divine encounter that deeply impacted young Yogananda.
Really?
It was almost like a premonition of his future path,
Oh, wow.
a hint of the extraordinary destiny that awaited him.
Wow, so even in his youth, there were these hints of the spiritual journey ahead. Speaking of which, there's this whole quest to find the Tiger Swami, right? What's the deal with that guy?
The Tiger Swami is a fascinating figure. Yogananda was drawn to him because he represented this incredible physical and spiritual mastery, fighting tigers with his bare hands. But the deeper symbolism lies in the idea of conquering our inner tigers.
Inner tigers. Now you've got me really curious.
Think about it. What are the tigers that hold us back in life? Maybe it's fear, doubt, anger, or those relentless desires that seem impossible to tame.
Yeah.
The Tiger Swami embodies the potential to overcome these inner obstacles,
Right.
which is ultimately the true path to liberation.
I see what you mean. It's not just about physical strength. It's about mastering those inner forces that can really sabotage us. It's a pretty universal struggle, isn't it?
It is, and Yogananda's search for the Tiger Swami shows that this yearning for inner strength and freedom is something many of us share.
And how does Yogananda actually find this Tiger Swami? Does he even succeed?
The search itself is full of twists and turns. He meets a policeman who'd met the Swami years prior and witnessed a miraculous healing.
Oh, wow.
This encounter, even secondhand, reinforces Yogananda's determination to find this elusive figure.
So even just hearing about this guy was enough to,
Oh, yeah.
make him want to find him.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's like the universe keeps nudging him in the right direction.
It's interesting how even the people he meets along the way seem to have these incredible stories and experiences. Like, everyone in this book is operating on a different level.
Exactly. And that's part of the magic of Yogananda's storytelling. He draws you into this world where the impossible feels almost within reach. And through his encounters, he starts to chip away at our preconceived notions of what's truly possible.
All right, so we've got past lives, inner tigers, and mysterious swamis. This is already more than my brain can handle. But let's be honest, the real reason many people are drawn to Autobiography of a Yogi is for the miracles. Was Yogananda just making this stuff up, or is there something more to it?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Yogananda tackles it head on. He describes meeting Ganda Baba, the perfume saint, who could materialize scents out of thin air. It's a story that seems straight out of a fantasy novel, but Yogananda offers a different perspective.
A perfume saint. Okay, I need details on this one.
Yeah.
Did he have a signature scent? Was it like sandalwood and enlightenment?
Well, sadly, he doesn't specify the notes. But Yogananda explains that Ganda Baba's abilities weren't mere trickery. He wasn't pulling rabbits out of hats. It was about controlling subtle energies, a concept that's central to yogic philosophy.
So it wasn't magic in the sense of illusion,
Right.
but more like tapping into some hidden power of the universe.
Precisely, this aligns with the yogic concept of prana, the life force that flows through all creation. Yogananda suggests that through specific practices and disciplines, one can learn to control and manipulate this energy, resulting in what we might perceive as miracles.
Okay, that's starting to make sense, but it also raises so many more questions.
Sure.
Like, if this prana is everywhere, does that mean we all have the potential to do these incredible things?
That's a question that Yogananda explores throughout the book, and it's something I think we should keep in mind as we continue our deep dive.
I'm definitely keeping an open mind. And speaking of mind-blowing concepts, there's this whole section about Jagadish Chandra Bose, a scientist who is proving that plants have feelings.
Is that where this prana concept comes in?
Bose's work is incredibly relevant here. He was a pioneer using scientific methods to demonstrate that plants weren't just passive organisms. They responded to stimuli. They had a kind of sentience, and this resonated deeply with the yogic understanding of a unified consciousness that permeates all of creation. So it's not just humans who are feeling and experiencing, it's everything, plants, animals, even rocks.
It's a radical idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's at the heart of Yogananda's message. He's asking us to expand our perception of what's alive, what's conscious, and to recognize the interconnectedness of all things.
All right, so the world is more alive and interconnected than we thought. But where does Yogananda fit into all of this? He's not just wandering around meeting fascinating people, right?
He's on a very specific path, and a crucial part of that is finding his guru. It's with Sri Yukteswar that his spiritual journey truly takes shape.
Ah, the guru-disciple relationship. That's something you see in a lot of Eastern spiritual traditions.
Yes.
But what makes Sri Yukteswar so special? What kind of guy was he?
Well, unlike some gurus who might be all about renouncing the world, Sri Yukteswar embodies a balanced approach. He's deeply spiritual, but also practical. He encourages meditation, yes, but also education. It's about harmonizing inner and outer development.
That's interesting. So it's not about becoming some detached hermit. It's about integrating spirituality into a well-rounded life.
Exactly. And Sri Yukteswar wasn't just a stern teacher either. Yogananda shares this funny anecdote about him teaching Yogananda to outwit a mosquito with a curtain.
Wait, how do you outwit a mosquito with a curtain? That sounds like a life hack I need.
Well, you'll have to read the book for the full explanation.
Yeah.
But the point is that Sri Yukteswar was showing Yogananda that even the most mundane situations can hold spiritual teachings if we're open to seeing them.
Okay, now I'm even more intrigued. So we have this wise, playful guru guiding Yogananda.
Right.
But I'm guessing the path to enlightenment isn't all sunshine and roses, right? What kind of challenges does he face?
Well, there's the story of Afzal Khan, a fakir, who could seemingly materialize objects out of thin air. However, unlike the saints and yogis we've discussed, he used his powers for selfish gain.
Wait, so it's possible to misuse these abilities? I guess that makes sense. It's like any kind of power, right? It can be used for good or for, well, not so good.
Exactly, and Afzal Khan serves as a cautionary tale. He shows Yogananda that true power comes from aligning with the divine will, not exploiting spiritual forces for personal gain. It's a theme that echoes throughout the book, that genuine spiritual progress is marked by humility, compassion, and a selfless desire to serve something larger than ourselves.
So even with all these incredible abilities, there's still a strong moral component to the whole thing. You can't just become a spiritual superhero and do whatever you want.
Precisely. Yogananda learns that the real test is inner transformation, not flashy displays of power. And that's a lesson that applies to all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether we're dealing with everyday temptations or struggling with bigger moral dilemmas.
Yeah, that definitely hits home. All right, so we've got miracles, gurus, and the importance of using power wisely. What other wild concepts does Yogananda throw at us in this section?
Well, he delves into some fascinating connections between Indian music and specific times of day and seasons, linking it all to deeper cosmic harmonies. It's like this ancient understanding that everything is interwoven. Music, time, nature, all part of a larger cosmic order.
So there's like a perfect soundtrack for every sunrise and sunset I need to get on that playlist.
Right. And then there are Sri Yukteswar's teachings on astrology. He's not talking about daily horoscopes here.
Yeah.
He's explaining how the stars can influence us. But ultimately, we have the power to mitigate negative effects through right action and spiritual practices.
That's empowering. So it's not about being a victim of fate. It's about recognizing these influences, but still having agency over our choices and actions.
Exactly. And Yogananda puts this to the test when he's given a silver and lead bangle to counteract a predicted liver ailment.
Oh, wow.
It's like he's taking this ancient wisdom and seeing how it plays out in his own life.
Okay, now that's just cool, a cosmic bangle.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how this book could capture someone's imagination. So with all this talk of interconnectedness and cosmic influences, where does Yogananda go next?
Right. Well, we're moving into some truly profound territory. He has this deeply moving experience where he connects with his deceased friend Kashi through a kind of heart radio. It's almost like intuition on steroids, this sense of communication beyond the physical realm.
Wow, so death isn't the end of connection. That's a concept that resonates across cultures, but Yogananda's experience seems so tangible.
It does, doesn't it? And this incident points to the yogic understanding of the soul's immortality.
Okay.
It suggests that our bonds with loved ones transcend physical death, and communication might be possible beyond what we typically understand.
Okay, my mind is officially blown, but before we dive into the implications of all that, there's one more encounter. I'm curious about Yogananda meets Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel Prize winner. What's that all about?
Tagore's poetry is known for its beauty and universality, and this meeting highlights something really important. It shows that the longing for truth, for connection, is a shared human experience, regardless of background or tradition. Yogananda finds common ground with this literary giant, emphasizing that spirituality can bridge even seemingly vast cultural divides.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the specifics of different traditions, but ultimately the human heart is searching for the same things.
Exactly, and this meeting with Tagore reminds us that the search for truth and meaning is a journey we're all on together.
Okay, that's a beautiful thought. But before we get too sentimental, I know there are more mind-bending stories ahead. What else did Yogananda experience in this part of his journey?
Well, get ready for some more jaw-dropping accounts of miraculous healings. He describes healing his dying sister using yogic techniques, and his first-hand account of meeting Therese Neumann, a German woman who reportedly lived without food, is truly astonishing.
Lived without food.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're entering X-Files territory. How does Yogananda explain these seemingly impossible feats?
He delves into the yogic principle of channeling life force for healing purposes. And this isn't just about the healer's power, it's also about the recipient's unwavering faith. It raises some intriguing questions about the power of the mind to influence the body and the potential for spiritual practices to facilitate healing.
So it's like the placebo effect on a whole other level where belief and intention play a role in the physical healing process.
Yes, there's definitely a connection there, and it's fascinating to see how Yogananda brings these ancient yogic principles into conversation with modern scientific understandings.
It's like he's bridging the gap between what we can measure and what we might call the miraculous. So with all these incredible experiences under his belt, where does Yogananda go from here? What's the next chapter in his journey?
Well, a pivotal moment arrives when Yogananda receives his mission to bring Kriya Yoga to the West. It's a huge turning point, marking his transition from seeker to teacher, and his guru's prediction about the West's receptivity to these ancient teachings becomes a driving force in his life.
Kriya Yoga, that's a term I've heard thrown around a lot, but to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on what it actually is.
It's a set of potent breathing and meditation techniques designed to accelerate spiritual evolution. Yogananda describes it as the airplane route to God,
Oh, wow.
suggesting it's a fast track to self-realization.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued, but wait, even his own father was initially opposed to this whole mission to the West. What happened there?
It's true, his father was quite traditional and couldn't fathom his son leaving India to teach these ancient practices to a foreign audience. But it's a testament to the transformative power of faith, both Yogananda's and his father's. Eventually, his father has a change of heart and gives his son his blessing, supporting his journey.
So even in the face of tradition and skepticism, there's this underlying trust in a higher purpose. That's powerful. But tell me more about this Kriya Yoga. What makes it so special, and why is Yogananda chosen to bring it to the West?
Well, that's a conversation for our next installment. But I can say that Kriya Yoga isn't just about relaxation or mindfulness. It's a powerful technique that works with the subtle energies of the body to accelerate spiritual growth. And Yogananda's mission to the West suggests that these ancient practices have a universal appeal, a relevance that transcends cultural boundaries.
Okay, now I'm on the edge of my seat. I need to hear more about this airplane route to God and what happens when Yogananda sets foot in the West. Does he face resistance? Does he win over converts?
Well, that's the story for another time. But suffice it to say, the journey is far from over. We've only just scratched the surface of Yogananda's incredible life and the wisdom he has to offer.
This has been mind-blowing already, and I have a feeling the best is yet to come. So stay tuned, folks, because we're just getting started on this deep dive into Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yes, we are. Last time we left off with Yogananda receiving this huge mission to bring Kriya Yoga to the West.
Right.
It's a turning point in the book. But before he embarks on that journey, there's one more pivotal experience in India. Remember how he'd been searching for that elusive Tiger Swami?
Oh, yeah, the tiger wrestling miracle-working master. Does Yogananda finally find him?
He does, and it's everything you'd expect and more.
Really?
He meets this powerful yogi, witnesses incredible feats of strength and healing, and receives profound teachings about mastering the inner self.
Okay, I need details. What kind of inner self teachings are we talking about? Does he get a crash course in tiger wrestling too?
Sadly, no tiger wrestling tips that I can share. But the teachings focus on recognizing and overcoming those inner tigers we talked about earlier, those deep-seated fears, desires, and negative thought patterns that hold us back from realizing our true potential.
So it's like a spiritual boot camp.
Yeah,
Training your mind to be as strong as the Tiger Swami's body.
exactly. And this meeting reinforces what Yogananda's been learning throughout his journey, that true strength comes from within. It's about conquering those internal battles, the ones we often fight in the silence of our own minds.
And once he's completed this spiritual boot camp, he's finally off to the West. Is that how it goes?
Not quite. Remember, his father initially resisted the idea. Well, he eventually comes around and gives his blessing. But then, out of the blue, Yogananda has this incredible encounter with Babaji, the immortal yogi.
Hold up, an immortal yogi. Like, he doesn't age. Is this guy for real?
That's what's so mind-blowing about this book. Yogananda describes Babaji as a being who has transcended the limitations of time and aging.
Wow.
He appears to Yogananda to confirm the importance of his mission to the West, offering guidance and encouragement.
Wow, talk about divine interventions. Like, the universe is conspiring to get him on that boat. But I'm curious, what does this encounter reveal about Yogananda himself? Is he hesitant, eager, terrified?
Well, there's definitely a sense of awe and humility in the way he describes this meeting. But there's also a deep resolve, a commitment to fulfilling his destiny, even though he's stepping into the unknown.
It makes you wonder how we'd react if we had a face-to-face with an immortal yogi.
Right.
Would we faint, run away, demand the secret to eternal youth?
Exactly. But Yogananda's response is more about accepting the mission and trusting the guidance he's received. This speaks to his faith and his willingness to serve something larger than himself.
Okay, so he's finally off to America, armed with ancient wisdom and a cosmic blessing. Is it smooth sailing from here, or does he face some culture shock?
Well, imagine bringing these ancient yogic concepts to a society focused on materialism and technological progress. There are definitely challenges, misunderstandings, and moments where Yogananda has to bridge a pretty significant cultural gap.
I bet. It's like trying to explain quantum physics to a toddler. Did he ever get frustrated or tempted to just give up and go back to India?
He does express moments of doubt and loneliness, especially in the early years.
Yeah.
But his commitment to his mission and his unwavering faith keep him going. And slowly, he starts to find receptive audiences, people who are hungry for the kind of spiritual wisdom he's offering.
It's interesting how timing seems to play a role.
It does.
Like maybe these teachings wouldn't have landed the same way a century earlier.
That's a great point. Yogananda often talks about how the West is ripe for this kind of spiritual awakening, that there's a growing yearning for something beyond the material world, and his success in spreading Kriya Yoga seems to confirm that.
So it's not just about Yogananda's individual efforts. It's like he's tapping into a collective shift in consciousness.
Exactly, and his work in America shows that spirituality can transcend cultural boundaries, that these ancient practices have a timeless relevance that speaks to the human heart no matter where you're from.
That's really inspiring. But I have to ask, after 15 years of building a movement in the West, what happens when Yogananda finally returns to India?
Well, it's a bittersweet homecoming. He's excited to reconnect with his homeland and share his experiences, but he also faces a profound loss. His beloved guru, Sri Yukteswar, has passed away.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. After all those years, all those lessons, to come back and find his guru gone, I can only imagine how devastated he must have been.
It's a deeply emotional moment in the book.
Yeah.
Yogananda describes feeling this immense grief, this sense of emptiness without his guru's physical presence. But what happens next is truly mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. Okay, now I'm really on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
What could be more mind-blowing than an immortal yogi?
Get this. Sri Yukteswar appears to Yogananda in resurrected form. He explains the nature of astral realms, the continuity of consciousness after death, and essentially blows apart any conventional understanding of what happens when we die.
Hold on, back up. resurrected like he's physically there talking to Yogananda.
Yogananda describes it in vivid detail. Sri Yukteswar explains that he's created a new body from the cosmic atoms, a body perfectly suited for the astral plane, which is a realm of light and energy that exists beyond the physical.
Okay, so it's not a physical resurrection in the sense of coming back to life in this world,
Right.
but more like he's conscious and embodied in this other dimension.
Exactly. And Sri Yukteswar goes on to describe multiple levels of existence beyond the physical, the astral, the causal, even higher realms, explaining that as the soul evolves, it sheds its coarser coverings and ascends to these finer planes of consciousness.
So death isn't the end, it's a transition to a different state of being, and there are like levels to this afterlife.
That's what's so radical about these teachings. Sri Yukteswar's appearance shatters our limited understanding of life and death, showing that consciousness continues, it evolves, and there's a whole universe beyond what we can perceive with our physical senses.
This is seriously making me rethink everything. But if Sri Yukteswar can just pop in from the afterlife, why doesn't he stick around? Why not become Yogananda's permanent astral sidekick?
Well, it's not that simple. Sri Yukteswar explains that he's appeared for specific reasons.
Okay.
First, it's to comfort Yogananda, to show him that death is not the end but a transition. Second, it's to provide deeper teachings about the soul's journey and the process of spiritual evolution.
So he's like a cosmic tutor guiding Yogananda even from beyond the veil.
Yes. And finally, Sri Yukteswar confirms the significance of Yogananda's mission to the West. He's essentially saying you're doing the right thing. Keep going.
That's amazing. It's like all of Yogananda's experiences, the challenges, the encounters were leading him to this point. It's almost like a divine orchestration.
There's definitely a sense of destiny that runs throughout the book.
Yeah.
It suggests that we're all on a path of spiritual unfolding, guided by something larger than ourselves, even if we're not always aware of it.
Okay, now I'm feeling a little existential, but before we spiral into the cosmic abyss, tell me more about these astral realms. What are they like? Are there astral Netflix and chill sessions?
Sadly, no streaming services in the astral realm that I'm aware of, but Sri Yukteswar describes it as a vibrant realm of light and energy, where thoughts and emotions manifest with incredible speed and intensity. It's like this heightened reality where the laws of physics as we know them don't really apply.
That sounds both amazing and terrifying. So is everyone who dies hanging out in this astral plane?
Not necessarily remember. Those different levels of existence where you end up depends on the level of your soul's evolution. Sri Yukteswar explains that we carry our karma with us, the actions and intentions of our past lives, and this influences our experiences in the afterlife.
So it's not like everyone gets an automatic upgrade when they die. You're still carrying your baggage, so to speak.
Exactly. It emphasizes that this life matters.
Yeah.
The choices we make, the way we treat others, it all has an impact not just in this life, but in the lives to come.
All right, that's making me seriously reconsider my actions. But let's get back to Yogananda. After this mind-blowing reunion with his guru, what happens next? Does he just go back to America and say, hey, everyone, guess what I learned about death?
Well, he does continue his work in the West, sharing his experiences and teachings, but there's a deeper shift within him.
Oh, wait.
It's not just conveying information. He's embodying this understanding of life and death, of the soul's journey, and it permeates everything he does.
It's like he's gone through this profound transformation.
Yeah.
And it's radiating outward, influencing not just his teachings, but his entire presence.
Precisely. And that's one of the most powerful takeaways from Autobiography of Yogi.
Okay.
It's not just a collection of stories. It's a testament to the transformative power of spiritual experience. Yeah. It shows that profound shifts in consciousness are possible, and they can ripple outward, touching the lives of countless others.
This is all so incredible, but I know we've only just scratched the surface. There are so many more fascinating characters and stories in this book.
You're right. Yogananda shares encounters with saints who could dematerialize their bodies at will, masters who could materialize objects out of thin air, and yogis who lived for centuries.
Okay, now that's just showing off. But seriously, what's the point of all these superhuman feats? Is it just spiritual entertainment?
Yogananda is showing us that the human potential is far greater than we typically believe. These individuals have tapped into a level of consciousness that most of us haven't even dreamed of. And while we may not all be destined to live for centuries or teleport ourselves across continents, their examples challenge us to explore our own inner landscape, to see what might be possible when we break free from our limiting beliefs.
So it's not about comparing ourselves or striving to become these superhuman figures, but more about seeing them as possibilities, as signposts pointing towards the vastness of human potential.
Exactly. Autobiography of a Yogi is ultimately a call to action. It's an invitation to explore our own spiritual potential and to recognize the divine spark that resides within each of us.
It's like Yogananda is saying, don't just read about these incredible beings, discover the incredible being within yourself.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it's important to remember that Yogananda wasn't just a spiritual recluse. He actively engaged with the world. He established schools, traveled extensively, and wrote books, demonstrating that true spirituality isn't about escaping from life, but about bringing that inner transformation into everything we do.
So it's not about meditating in a cave for 50 years and achieving enlightenment. It's about living an integrated life, bringing spirituality into our relationships, our work, our everyday interactions.
Exactly, and Yogananda was particularly passionate about bridging the gap between East and West, showing that despite cultural differences, there are universal truths that resonate with the human heart. He believed that spirituality could unite people from all walks of life, fostering a sense of harmony and understanding across cultures.
That's a message that feels especially relevant today,
It does.
in a world that often seems so divided.
It does, doesn't it? Yogananda's vision of a world where spirituality transcends religious boundaries, where we recognize our interconnectedness and shared humanity, is something we can all aspire to.
This is also inspiring, but I have to admit, after all these incredible stories and teachings, I'm left wondering, what about the man himself? What kind of person was Yogananda behind all the miracles and profound wisdom?
Well, one of the things that makes this book so engaging is Yogananda's voice. He comes across as this incredibly relatable human being, someone who's funny, humble, and deeply devoted to his path. He doesn't shy away from sharing his own struggles and doubts, which makes his journey all the more inspiring.
I love that he brings humor into the mix. It makes it feel less like a spiritual lecture and more like a conversation with a wise friend.
It does, doesn't it? And his humor highlights something crucial about the spiritual path. It's not about being serious and somber all the time. True spirituality should be filled with joy, wonder, and a deep appreciation for the beauty of life.
So it's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience.
Yes.
The good, the bad, the funny, the profound, and finding the divine spark in it all.
Exactly, and that's one of Yogananda's greatest gifts to us. He shows us that enlightenment isn't about escaping from the world, it's about embracing it fully with love, compassion, and a sense of joyful wonder.
Okay, I'm feeling totally inspired, but there's one big question I still have. Yogananda spends a lot of time talking about Kriya Yoga, this airplane route to God. Can you tell me more about what it actually is and how does it work?
Kriya Yoga is a specific set of breathing and meditation techniques that are designed to accelerate spiritual evolution.
No.
It's not just about relaxation. It's about working with the subtle energies of the body to awaken higher states of consciousness.
So it's like a technology of consciousness, a system for hacking your spiritual evolution.
That's a great way to put it. And Yogananda emphasizes that Kriya Yoga is a sacred practice that should be learned from a qualified teacher, not just picked up from a book.
That makes sense. It's like any powerful tool, you need the right training and guidance to use it safely and effectively. But why is Kriya Yoga so special? What makes it different from other forms of meditation or spiritual practice?
That's a great question. And it's something we'll explore in more detail in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But I can say that Kriya Yoga is said to work directly with the life force, or prana, accelerating the process of spiritual awakening and leading to profound states of bliss and expanded awareness.
Okay, now I'm really on the edge of my seat. This Kriya Yoga sounds pretty amazing, but before we dive into all that, I'm curious, after all this talk of saints, miracles, and higher realms, how does all of this relate to our everyday lives?
That's the key question, isn't it? And that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive. We'll look at the practical applications of these teachings and how we can integrate them into our modern lives to experience greater peace, purpose, and connection.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready to bridge the gap between the extraordinary and the everyday. Okay, so we've journeyed through past lives, met tiger wrestling yogis, and even glimpsed the afterlife. But now I'm wondering, how do we bring this extraordinary wisdom into our everyday lives? It's easy to get caught up in the fantastical elements, but can Autobiography of a Yogi offer practical guidance for the average person like me who isn't planning on living for centuries or materializing perfume on demand?
That's a question that many readers grapple with. It's one thing to marvel at Yogananda's experiences, but how do we actually translate these profound concepts into tangible actions and shifts in our own lives? Well, the good news is that the book is filled with practical takeaways that can be integrated into daily life regardless of your background or beliefs.
Okay, that's reassuring. So it's not about becoming a yogic superhero. It's about finding ways to apply these principles to our modern, messy lives. Where do we even begin?
One of the core messages that resonates throughout the book is the power of meditation. Yogananda repeatedly emphasizes the importance of stilling the mind, going inward to connect with that divine presence within. He offers specific techniques like Kriya Yoga. But even a few minutes of quiet contemplation each day can have a profound impact.
So even if I'm not ready to commit to a full-blown yogic path, just taking some time to breathe and be present can make a difference.
Absolutely. It's about creating space for stillness in a world that's constantly bombarding us with stimuli. And it doesn't have to be a huge time commitment. Even 5 or 10 minutes of dedicated quiet time can shift your inner landscape, bringing a sense of calm and clarity.
Okay, that feels doable even for someone with a jam-packed schedule. What else can we do to bring a bit of that Yogananda magic into our daily routine?
Another key takeaway is the power of cultivating a positive mindset. Yogananda stresses that our thoughts have a profound impact on our reality. He encourages us to focus on positive affirmations, to visualize our goals, and to cultivate an attitude of gratitude.
So it's not just about wishful thinking, it's about consciously shifting our thought patterns to create a more positive and fulfilling reality.
Exactly. It's about becoming aware of those negative thought loops that can sabotage our happiness and actively choosing to replace them with thoughts that uplift and empower us.
I can definitely relate to that. It's so easy to get caught up in negativity, especially with all the challenges we face in the world today. But it sounds like Yogananda is saying we have more control over our inner state than we realize.
He often uses the analogy of planting seeds. Our thoughts are like seeds, and the garden of our mind is the fertile ground. If we're constantly planting seeds of negativity, that's what will grow. But if we consciously choose to plant seeds of positivity, love, and gratitude, that's what will blossom in our lives.
That's a powerful image. It makes you realize that even small shifts in our thinking can have a ripple effect, creating a more positive and fulfilling reality. So we've got meditation and positive thinking. What other nuggets of wisdom can we glean from Autobiography of a Yogi?
Well, Yogananda places a lot of emphasis on living a balanced life, one that harmonizes the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of our being.
Balanced living, that sounds great in theory, but how does it translate into practice, especially in our fast-paced modern world?
It's about recognizing that we're not just machines that need to be productive. We have bodies that need nourishment and movement, minds that need stimulation and creativity, and souls that need connection and meaning.
So it's not about striving for perfection in every area, but more about finding that sweet spot where all aspects of our being are nurtured and supported.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true well-being encompasses the whole person. It's about making conscious choices to prioritize our physical health, engage in activities that bring us joy and mental stimulation, and carve out time for those practices that nourish our souls.
It's like Yogananda is reminding us that we're not just cogs in a machine, we're multifaceted beings with complex needs and a deep yearning for something more.
He is, and he demonstrates that true fulfillment doesn't come from external achievements or material possessions. It comes from that inner harmony, that sense of alignment between who we are and how we live.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these seemingly esoteric teachings can actually have a real impact on how we live, how we work, how we relate to ourselves and the world around us. But there's one more big concept from the book that I want to explore, the idea of interconnectedness. Yogananda keeps emphasizing that we're all part of this larger web of existence. But how do we actually live that truth? How do we move from a me-centered perspective to a more expansive view that recognizes our interconnectedness with all life?
That's a great question, and it goes to the heart of Yogananda's message. He challenges us to cultivate compassion and empathy for others. He encourages us to see the divine spark in every being, regardless of their background or beliefs.
So it's about recognizing that we're not separate, isolated individuals, but rather we're all threads in the same tapestry, interconnected and interdependent.
Exactly. And this understanding has profound implications for how we live. It shifts our focus from self-interest to a more expansive sense of responsibility for the well-being of others. It compels us to act with kindness, understanding, and compassion, recognizing that our actions have ripple effects that extend far beyond ourselves.
It's like shifting from a me versus them mentality to a we're all in this together perspective.
Yes, and Yogananda emphasizes that this isn't just some abstract philosophical concept. It's something we can practice in our daily lives. It's about extending kindness to the stranger in line at the grocery store, offering a helping hand to a colleague who's struggling, or simply listening with an open heart to someone who needs to be heard.
So it's about bringing that awareness of interconnectedness into our everyday interactions, making choices that reflect a deeper understanding of our shared humanity.
Precisely. And Yogananda teaches that this isn't just about being nice. It's about recognizing the divine spark within every being, seeing the inherent worth and dignity of all life. It's about acting from a place of love, and understanding, recognizing that we're all interconnected and that our actions have the power to either uplift or harm the web of life.
This is all so inspiring. It feels like we've just scratched the surface of Autobiography of a Yogi and the wisdom it offers. What started as a journey into one man's extraordinary life has become a profound exploration of human potential spiritual awakening and the interconnectedness of all things.
It's true. Yogananda's book isn't just a fascinating read, it's a call to action. It's an invitation to awaken to our own spiritual potential, to live with greater awareness and intention, and to make choices that contribute to the well-being of ourselves and the world around us.
So after this deep dive into Autobiography of a Yogi, what resonates with you most? What questions or ideas does this spark for your own journey?
Autobiography of a Yogi challenges us to look beyond the limitations of our everyday perceptions and to embrace a world that is far grander and more mysterious than we might imagine. It's an invitation to explore the hidden depths of our own being and to recognize the divine spark that connects us all.
What a fantastic note to end on. It's like Yogananda is saying, the adventure has just begun. Now it's your turn to explore.
Indeed. The journey of self-discovery is a lifelong endeavor, and Autobiography of a Yogi is a wonderful companion for the path. May your exploration be filled with joy, wonder, and profound transformation.